أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد ومحمد. يا إخواني وأخواتي، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of Allah be upon you, inshallah, if you deserve it, of course. So, this is another part, mainly on this book, القوة والإمان, La foi et la force, the faith and the strength, which is a book about Silat initiation and Panchak Silat in general in the Banten area of the island of Java, one of the island of the archipelago of Indonesia, which has a lot of islands. So the principal island, which is also well known to be a center part, and even until this day and age, we have the capital of the country, العاصمة باللغة العربية. So the main city of the country located in this island and in juxtaposition of the region of Bantenese, which is a big part of the focus of this book, which is called the Silat martial art of Banten, Indonesia. So in Banten, you have some kind of Islamizator, propagator of the faith in a da'wah style organization, so an organ of propagation of Islam during the 16th, 14th, 15th, but more the 16th century, in the name of the Wali Songo, which was like 9 saints, little more in fact, which came mostly from the Middle East, from Arab country, and also Persians, and also from El Maghrib, with the like of one of the Wali Songo being called El Maghribi, which is in fact El Maghrib Al Aqsa, which is actual Morocco. So very interesting part. And we have a term that was used in this book, which is the concept of Debus, Debus, which is like invulnerability, which is in fact from the Arabic Debus, Debus الشعر, for example, which is like a spike you put in your hair. So it is like a nail, in fact, the thing you hit with a hammer, clou in French, and the boss, which is a term, an Arabic term. You have also the term mismar for this particular, in Arabic, for this particular concept. أهلا أبي العامدي، مرحبا, welcome. And so this chapter is interesting. This part is interesting because there is talking about invulnerability and stuff like this, which is most of the time linked to the animist and shamanic heritage of the old Indonesia before his reformation, with the inclusion of Islamic tenets and benefit in this case, because it was widely accepted by the population. And it is a choice. This is a choice. The West have the choice to reject Islam, and the East have the choice and the opportunity to accept it. And this is something by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even without the Muslim spectrum, it is also interesting. This question of Debus is interesting because we can see some similarity between this act of practicing some kind of invulnerability and also the way of the Passion of the Christ is practiced in Philippines, Filipino archipelago, for example, with some blood-shedding ritual and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not here to abase them for that. I found it quite courageous. It is a form of practice that go to the limit of the bearing of the human body. So I respect that, and we have the same also in the Shia tradition with Sha'air al-Husayniyya, for example, which are straightly linked to some ahadith that even in some expression exist in the Sunni corpus. And you have also a well-known practice of this kind of concept of invulnerability or playing with the blade and stuff like that in the Sufi expression of the Sunnah spirituality. So it is not something very new, and even in India you got the fakir concept, which is also an Arabic word. الفقر الفقير الفقراء, which means the poor. So poor people have to demonstrate their faith, and there is linked to the concept of dervish, also in Turkish speaking word and stuff like that, which were some begging people with some supernatural ability in the history and the tradition of Islam. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. مرحبا. Sorry, I have to put my battery in charge, so it's okay. It's okay, sorry. So I will translate the French text, which is interesting because it is linked with the Islamic heritage also. So the practices of invulnerability, the Debus, like an expression of the divine link. So in some spiritualities, it is a way of connecting the Almighty by suffering, by تذكر النفس, this kind of process, by blood letting, al-hijama, for example. It can have some medical benefits in the Muslim mind, but also our way of penitence. And it is something that should not be overlooked. It serves a purpose. If you go to hell, if you go to a purgatory stage to be removed from sin and to be punished, because there is a hikmah behind it. It is not mere amusement. So, from the Islamic perspective, reasoning alone don't permit to find the relief. So salvation, literally salut, which is more closer to salvation. In the Islamic jurisprudence, the Quran contains in some embryonical forms numerous rules on the comportment of the way of being of the Muslim, and he should respect it. But regarding certain subjects from which are religious or even extra religious, there is a lack of Quranic rules. And it is a debate between al-ulama in their the Muslim scholars in regard to their methodology of what is the best approach to this lack of scriptural or Quranic, in this case, edits and rulings regarding certain new questions or certain questions with the answer were lost, for example, in the past, due to the lack of keepfulness of the Muslims. And you have numerous stages in the history of the Muslims when some maktaba, some libraries with many books with religious content were straightly burned. It was the case in the hand of the Mongols. It was the case in the hand of the revolt of the Zanj, of the Zunuj, near al-Basra, and also in the hand of the Christians, Westerners during the Crusade, and also in Andalusia and stuff like that. So there was some stage where useful material of regarding religion was removed. So we are not in, or even by the hand of some hero of the Muslim world. The Muslim world at this stage don't know which is an enemy and who is a hero. So they have, they still call Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi a hero, but he burned a lot of hadith and books of religions, of ethics, logic, knowledge, al-ilm, medicine, etc. He put there in the Nile. And you have also fake heroes like Khalid ibn Walid, which was removed from his office, even from the order of Umar ibn Khattab, which was not able longer to hide his crime. And also the killing of one of the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, and the consumption of the sexual act with his wife the day of his killing. Amazing. So not only he was a criminal, was a killer, but also he didn't respect al-idda. So the legal Islamic duration after the separation of a woman and her husband, separation which was made by force, by severing the neck of a Muslim and companion beloved by Prophet Muhammad. So, a close examination of the way of life, Sunnah, of Prophet Muhammad and his companions. So, Sunnah is from Prophet Muhammad. From the Sunni perspective, Prophet Muhammad and Ashabun Nabi, so the companions, and from the Shia perspective, the life and way of living of Prophet Muhammad and his chosen family in the name of the Imam of Ahlul Bayt. So two different way of conceiving the Sunnah. So the way of life of the Prophet and his companion is full of indication about their way of being and the way that should be followed and the way that should be obviously disregarded. Example of the Prophet is also of help to find the way. So here the way is translated by Sharia. Sharia is more related to fiqh, it's more related to Islamic jurisprudence, law of regulations. Even the word Sharia, for example, means literally in Arabic street. Sha'r also, which are the hair, which can be long most of the time when you have a certain length, is also connected with the lexical area of horizontality, of long things. So maybe in this case it is translated as a way, but in fact the word way is more closely associated with طريق, which is طريقة, or صراط, which is a way, صراط المستقيم, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, with also in الفاتحة used to be taken by God to the straight path, by God Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, in the conception explained by the author, the proof which indicates that the devoted are on this way, this concern some unusual facts like miracles and stuff like that, which cannot be the result only of the interaction and relation with God. So without a direct intervention of God, there is no miracle. So external world is subject some physics rules that apply to this materialistic world. That's why when you cut some wood with an axe, you can split it and have some many parts. But when God make an intervention, this physical rule is annihilated in some kind of understanding by the grace of God. This is what is a miracle. Miracle is literally an intervention, punctual intervention of God, which in fact hold the physical virtue of his creation. So it's like an exception in a continual flow of causality. So it's like an interruption of causality, to make it short. So in Bonten, the invulnerabilities, which are called debus, and which is from the Arabic debus, which is a spike and also a nail. Had historically gained an analog status and played an important role in the process of Islamization and conversion. So it was a key part, because in the Indonesian culture, this is something which is important. And you can see it in the way the Wali Songo are depicted, in the way even the heroes like Hang Tuah of Malaysia, so a close associated kingdom, also is linked to some kind of invulnerability with some artifacts, crease and stuff like that, even if he lost to his best friend and stuff like that. There is a focus on this aspect in the depiction of sanctity and the depiction of religiosity, and also of choice, of chosen level by the grace of God. So a kind of election by some spiritual, supernatural attributes. So some specialists thinks that there was in fact initially used for the Islamization of Banten. So in fact, they have an external origin. They are not linked straightly to the Indonesian culture. Even they found some echoes in this culture. They were tools of Islamization. And we know that the Wanisongo used cultural substance as a lever for their campaign of Islamization. So in the region of Banten, Java, Barat, so West Java and Sumatra, where we find some similar practice, which called Tok Dabui in Aceh, which is in Sumatra Island, and Dabus in the south of Sumatra. So closer in Sumatra of the original Arabic word, not Debus here, but Dabus. So even if the practice of invulnerability in Banten may be probably anterior to the arrival of Islam, the Muslim of Banten recall that it is because of these practices that Gunung Jati, which is one of the Wali Songo, and Hassanuddin made Islam prevalent in the region. So something really overlooked in the Western society played a huge role in what is today the most populated Muslim country of the world. So don't overlook something which is can be strange for you. We don't know. So the Bantenese recall that it was by the use of the Debus that the Brotherhood had a popular pulpit and access to the masses. And find a diffusion from the inner circle of the court of the Sultan to the rural population of outside the center of urbanization. So in Banten, the manuscript of the schools and the tools used are proof that these practices were present from many centuries. And if there had been a renewal in the 19th century, the exercise of the Debus were certainly practiced at least from the 16th century. So, in fact, the coming of the Wali Songo. So, this conclusion goes radically in the reverse sense of the claims of some group of researchers which qualified the Debus at like a folklore practice from recent time, which is not the case. And Debus are marked by a strong Sufi influence. But can also be seen as an aggregation of Islamic practices and practices that was there before Islam, which is have some logic. So the Hollandi historian Martin van Brustnissen, so Holland, of course, was the country in power during the time of colonization. So, for those who don't know, I think during the time of colonization, only 5 countries in the world were safe of colonization from the Europeans. So, it was a general truth and a harm to, of course, this country, which were subject to various kinds of abasement, of segregation, of humiliation, of executions, and stuff like that. So, the owner of the land, and this is a scenario that repeat again in this day and age, even in 2025, have external European which threaten the peace and which we are able to genocide on basis of their presence the autochthons of indigenous people of some lands. It was the case with the Indians in America and every other part of the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give some consolation to these broken souls of people of every part of the world. So the Hollandaise historian Martin van Bussen have the affirmation that the practice are linked to the Qadiriyya, which is a Sufi order linked to Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. So a Sufi master from the region of Jilan. For some, he was a Sayyid, and you have even expression of the Qadiriyya in Morocco, for example, Qadiriyya Bouchichiyya, and also various parts of the ancient Muslim world. But this Qadiriyya is from Jilan, which is a city of northern Iran. And Abdul Qadir al-Jilani was mostly living in Iraq, for those who don't know. And some people claim that it was a descendant of Prophet Muhammad, but this claim is disputed for the fact that prior to one of his grandson, there was no mention of that. But Allah may know best the truth, because we're not able here to speak abasing these claims or not. This is not my goal. So, but most of the Turuq, most of the Sufi, or most of the Shi'i expression of spirituality were always the appanage of descendant of the family of Prophet Muhammad. They have a spiritual function as a descendant to renew with spirituality and also to protect Sharia. That's why Sadat in general, beside some kind of opposition and understanding, are respected and have a special input in kind of religion. This is not your average John Doe. It is something that is important. In Sufism, it is important also. It was important in Sunni Islam at a stage before the overwhelming of the fourth school, for example, in the detriment of the school of Ahl al-Bayt. So the Abbasid promoted this kind of under-leveling status of the Sadat, but normally it survives in the form of Sufism. Even there is a lot of imposters from Abbasid birth. It is also something that should be understood. And so, for the historian, Hollandaise historian Martin from Brunnissen, this practice, which were linked to Al-Qadariyya, were separated after from this particular brotherhood and also from their original context of practice. So even from this point of view, in fact, the practice of the Debus, which is an Arabic word, is from the Islamic, Arabic, and Middle Eastern conception and practice of Islam. It was imported, and it is not inherently Indonesian. So in fact, a consequence of that is that the number of practitioners of Debus cannot be accepted as an objective indicator to the number of members of Al-Qadariyya in Banten and in West Java. So it is from the book of Von Bennison Martin, 1995, Sharia Court, Tarikat and Pesantren, Religious Institution in the Sultanate of Banten, page 210. So we find some close exercise of Debus in the Qadariyya of Kurdistan and in different brotherhoods in the Middle East, simply because it is the origin of that. Middle East is the origin of such kinds of practices devoted to the divine. Test of the faith, test of the force of bearing suffering and stuff like that, and especially in the Shia denomination of Islam, but you find also in the Sunnah by the practiced by the Brotherhood of Tasawwuf. So the spike, the central element of Debus, which is also called Al-Madad. Al-Madad. And many Shia know there is a well-known term, Al-Madad, which is related, Ya Allah, Madad, Ya Muhammad, Madad, Ya Ali, Madad, which is used with some restriction regarding the jurisprudence of, but it's like asking for help from a superior entity. Maybe it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, maybe it a close servant of God like Prophet Muhammad, which is a benediction to the words, Rahmat al-Alamin, and also the vice-regent of Prophet Muhammad as is true Khalif, which is Ali bin Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'minin, which is Amir al-Mu'minin, a restrictive term which cannot apply to any other than Ali bin Abi Talib, peace be upon him. And even in the books like Al-Bukhari or Muslim, I have numerous editions of that. There is in certain hadith the word alayhi salam after the name of Ali bin Abi Talib. There's also some variation, Karamullah wajhu, stuff like that. So, of highest ontologic degree than your regular monarch or commander. So the spike, a central element of the debus, namely and called al-madad, is inherited by the brotherhood or of a rifa'iyya, which is in fact, it was the Sufi order of Ibn Taymiyyah. Even in Ibn Taymiyyah at the time is related to some kind of Sufi order. It is an order, Sufi brotherhood, from a descendant of the 7th Imam of the Shia, Musa al-Kazim, which is buried in Iraq near Baghdad. And which was also found his martyrdom in the hand of Al-Abbasiyya, of the Abbasid, which were at the beginning Shi'i, and which removed their allegiance. They lost their wilaya, their walaya. Wilaya is a determinate term used by the Sufi, but normally is al-walaya, which gave loyalty even in English, and loyauté in French. Al-walaya is allegiance you put first, regarding even your genetic allegiance, because it is an allegiance chosen by God, who is the chooser of the ultimate hierarchy, not you, not me. This is the difference. So when you stick to it, you are loyal. When you remove it, you have become like a free electron in the system. And so most of the time you turn to biting the end that give you food, science, and ease in your inner peace. So the initiatical prayers of the Rifa'iyya, that which are recited in Egypt, in Turkey, and in India, and which was attributed to the Muassis, the founder of the Brotherhood, Ahmad al-Rifai, begins many times with the word madad, which signify help, succoring, or salvation. So it is in the same book of von Bunsen, page Kitab Kuning Pesantaren Den Tarekat Tradisi. Another book which from Vincent Martin, Kitab Kuning Pesantren Den Tarekat Tradisi Islam di Indonesia. Les recueils coraniques, écoles coraniques et confréries, les traditions islamiques en Indonésie. So, Quranical collection, Quranic schools and brotherhoods, Islamical traditions in Indonesia. So this is the equivalent in English. So in the archipelago, Rifa'iyya developed even to the region of Minangkabau in the West Sumatra. And it is also known through the name Dabui, a name which is in fact an equivalent to Dabus in plural declination. So it is a name to describe this practice of invulnerability. We found also some practice of Debus type in Aceh, in the Malay Peninsula, in the Moluk ethnicity, and in the Muslim from Malaysian descent, in Cape Town, in South Africa. Where the Debus were propagated by some Bantenese residents like Sheikh Yusuf, which was originally from Makassar, when he was exiled in 1693. So the invocation and recitation used in the Debus have some local variations. So in the region of Pandeglang, the Debus are explicitly associated with the Rifa'i. And in the north of Banten and Cirebon, where we was recited in the end of 19th century, the Wawakan Se, which is the Javanese adaptation of or Sundanese adaptation. Sunda is the ethnicity of the people of Bandung, people of Garut. So a big group of the West Java part. So the Wawakan Se adaptation, Javanese adaptation or Sundanese of pious and miraculous facts and storytelling, manaqib, which is from Arabic, manaqib, of the Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. Sheikh Saman is also called in these two regions with a link to a dance which is called Saman. Saman. This one is based on the recitation of Zikr and prayers, Ratib, of the Samaniya Brotherhood, and was before practiced for the festivities, ceremonies, with demonstration of Silat and Debus. and many groups of pratique of Debus use some specific prayers of الشاذلية, which is an Islamic brotherhood of المغرب. So for those who don't know, my maternal family are the head of الشاذلية النصرية in Algeria and direct descendant of Ibn Mashish, the teacher of Shadli, which was killed in Morocco. So, before the demonstration of the Debus were made in a room which was situated in the second level of the Banten Mosque, which was called Tiama. They was directed by one or two masters called Khalifa or Sheikh, which assumed the responsibility of the good working of the show by monitoring the security of the practitioner, because there was some huge test for the body and the health because of the use of blades and stuff like that, maybe, and the spike.